Alright, so here's an updated version of the build I'm gonna start with in about 2 days. As after playing a bit of last Epoch and figuring out some more of how things work, having like these are just base types. I didn't put anything on these gear pieces, but it's like bleed chance on the bow, um, cooldown recovery speed, damage over time, bleed chance, cooldown recovery, armor, cooldown recovery, void resistance, movement speed dodge rating, and bleed chance. So all the gear is essentially focusing on the bleed chance. I think that's because like with the net, I should be able to get 20 or like more than 20 stacks of bleed just on one cast of the net. And if I can increase my throwing speed and get like, just basically pound the nets out as quickly as I can, I should be able to, get as many. I could get like I have no what if there's like a cap for amount of bleeds. So it doesn't seem like there is. So I get like 100 bleeds or something. The Falcon's gonna add bleeds, like it's gonna apply a lot of bleeds. Plus, it has the kill threshold. The movement speed with the Falcon is also gonna apply a lot of bleeds. Shift is just an extra movement. I'd probably replace this with a decoy for boss fights. And this is a defensive utility that also increases my damage. Idols, I don't really know what to do, so I just kind of did damage over time and chance to bleed. Blessings, I don't really know what to do, so I just kind of did uniques, just bows, idols, mana, relics, throwing damage, chance to bleed, dodge rating, and that stuff. For passives, I've changed up my passives a bit. I've done the just 1.3 points, and then 5 stacks of bleed on the third attack. So every third attack is gonna have a lot of bleed stacks. I put this to get more glancing blow because I figured if I can cap out my glancing blow chance, it'll be pretty easy to hit 100. I'll be moving a lot, so damage while moving taken is a pretty good defensive thing. Plus dodge rating 25% seems like it'd be pretty good. Flat dodge rating poison resistance is nice. Didn't take any points in that. I don't really see a reason why. For Falconer, the main thing, health and dodge rating. I think I'm going to reduce points in this a bit. I don't really need the flat dodge rating as much, I don't think. 1 point in this just to get the dodge rating and the health gain as endurance or whatever, the threshold. I don't really know if I'm going to keep the point in this. I might take the point out and put it somewhere else. 4 points in this to get mana on dodge, which will be really helpful, as well as the percent dodge rating, which is really nice. Points into this to get Falcon to get more damage, like throwing damage, as well as some dexterity. 3 points in this to get more attack damage and throwing attack speed, as well as Falcon throwing attack speed, just so I can unlock this, so that Falcon gets more damage or whatever, like throwing damage, as well as flat throwing damage. Getting this to change my block chance to glancing blow. So now it's basically like getting 10% glancing blow chance just to have this. I might take this out, but getting health back on glancing blow also seemed pretty nice. Taking this to get more percent dodge rating, percent armor, and dexterity. Getting this to get the Falcon getting me health, as well as increased damage and increased Falcon damage. And then this point to get the extra armor per dexterity, so I can stack dexterity and get more armor. So I'll have high armor, high dexterity is the plan. Taking 5 points in this so that the Falcon gets my bleed chance, or 50% of my bleed chance here, so that'll be really nice. 1 point in this to unlock things. I was thinking about putting more points in this, like the chance to throw caltrips on dodge, but I don't really think it's that useful. But this one, on the other hand, is really nice because so that means caltrip automatically gives me frailty stacks. So every time I throw nets, there's caltrips. And so it just automatically has 3 frailty stacks, which is the maximum amount of frailty stacks anyway. So I don't have to have frailty on net or frailty on falcon, which I think I might have accidentally put frailty on falcon anyway, and I'm probably going to have to take that out here in this video. Points into this to get like a more damage multiplier to slowed targets, which is kind of nice, because the net automatically has a slow thing in there. And then 6 points here to get minus damage while moving. So I essentially get minus 31% damage while moving, as well as more movement speed, and then a percent increased dodge rating. Looking here, I'm getting the 16% glancing blow, and then 5 points to get the increased movement speed, as well as like the damage. I was thinking about putting points here, and here doesn't matter, but this is where I was thinking about putting more points for the Dust Shroud, but I'm not really doing melee, so... And then looking here, I'm going to start by putting points here, and then putting some points here, and then putting points here, and then taking these points out, and then just having these points, because it's increased damage over time, and then minus damage over time taken, so I think that's a pretty good defensive layer. Looking at skills, again, I'd probably replace this with the totem thing, but we have Puncture, which I'm just going massive bleed chance. So it's like 5 points here, 4 points here, 3 points here to give me 6 stacks. So what's that, 360% chance whenever I get Bleeding Fury up. Frenzy kind of helps, I guess. Extra damage in area on the third of strike. And then the bleed stacks are consumed instantly for like a big burst of damage. 20% more or 60% more chance to poison, which is converted straight to bleed. So this is 60% more chance to bleed essentially. And that's Puncture. It's just a lot of bleed chance and bleed stuff. And then instant bleed damage. So it'll consume all of the stacks. Essentially, by the time this consumes it, it should consume like 20 to 60 bleed stacks at once. So that should be really nice. Smokescreen is just like getting the auto dodge with the Silver Shroud, getting slow stacks when things come into it, so I can get that multiplicative damage, dodge rating, and getting a Dust Shroud, more Dust Shroud essentially. Duration, I get more damage while I'm inside this, inside the thing. And then I get more bleed chance, like or Puncture gets more bleed chance while I'm attacking from the Dust Shroud. This is the Leech, which seems okay. For the Falcon, I need to take the points out of the Frailty because I don't need this anymore, actually, because of the thing I already have. So let's take that out. Don't really need super cooldown on that, but that's fine. Getting points into this because it gets the kill threshold, which is really nice. Points into this, I guess remaining cooldown is fine. Points into this, so now the Falcon gets 200% of my bleed chance, so it's like a lot, essentially. Then getting, where is it at? I wanted to get the marked targets, that was what I wanted. So marking targets, so I get more damage, essentially, when the Falcon hits things. For the flying one, the big thing I get is like the remaining cooldown whenever the Falcon hits things, the flat cooldown plus damage, the feather storm that happens after it, which can also apply bleed. It also drops caltrops, which applies bleed. These caltrops, all caltrops have an additional plus 200% bleed source from here. Caltrops have a chance to slow. And then caltrops basically drop along the entire path, so there's a lot of bleeding. Whenever I use this, Falconry's cooldown is reduced. I get mana back whenever I use this. I get health back when I use this. And then that health is actually given to me as ward. So every time I use this, I just get a lot of ward, essentially. And then net is essentially just bleed chance. Has like a lot of physical damage over time. Does more bleed. I can throw 6 nets. It procs Puncture, which will be the bow Puncture because I'm using a bow. And then it throws 2 nets every time I throw 1 instead of 1. Has increased area, which is nice. It also throws caltrops. It'll have the increased area for the caltrops, and the caltrops are going to be at the location. So I'm going to be applying a lot of bleeds with the caltrops and the punctures and the nets. And the falcon will be applying bleeds, and every time I do the aerial assault, it's going to apply bleeds. And then when I get into Dust Shroud, it's going to make my punctures bleed even more. So it's just like super bleed is what I went with the ability. I don't need puncture on my bar, so I'm putting shift on there essentially. And yeah, that's the current build as it looks. I don't know if it's going to be any good. I thought about going the Umbral Blades version of this, where you don't spec Falconry, but instead you spec Umbral Blades, and all of this you spec the, what's it called? The Shadow Dagger stuff, where you, where's it at? Yeah, this stuff, where you apply Shadow Daggers with it, and so you just essentially use the net to apply a lot of Shadow Daggers. I also thought about adding the enemies cannot dodge stuff to this, which I kind of want to do that, but I need to come up with 5 points that I need to take out to do that. I could remove the caltrops and get the 5 points, or I could reduce the bleed chance and get the 5 points. I don't know what I want to if I want to do that or not yet. But yeah, that's the current update of the build. I hope it looks halfway decent and not complete trash. My other thought was doing a bleed warlock, but I don't know about that. So, anyways, talk to y'all next time.